Hey, it's Nicole with your LexPD. This is going to be our last episode for season 1. And you're probably wondering, where is my co-host? Well, Bige is on Sunny. So we are out here at the Lexington Police Department Mounted Barn. How you doing up there, Bige?
Well, they actually found one of the horses that I feel comfortable getting on. So far, staying calm, everything's good. So, but as you would expect, Lexington, Kentucky, horse capital of the world, you would expect us to have a mounted unit, actually known all over the country. So this month we're going to be looking at all about our mounted unit, going all the way back to the early 1900s up until now and what's going on the streets of Lexington on horseback.
Hey, we are here with Sergeant Byron Creekmore with the Lexington Police Department Mounted Unit. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
So can you tell us how you became the sergeant over the mounted unit?
Funny story, actually. I was sitting in the office on patrol, and I was working with another sergeant at the time. He was an acting sergeant. We were working on some paperwork for that day, and he left. He called me about 5 minutes later and said, "Hey, I have a random question for you." I was like, "All right." And he said, "You like horses?" I was like, "This has nothing to do with what we were just talking about at all." So it kind of one thing led to another. I came out here and met with the sergeant that was retiring from this position, and the more information that I learned about it, it seemed like a good fit for me. And so I put myself out there and interviewed and got lucky enough and got the spot.
Well, you know, you think of Lexington, you think of horses, right? And how we got to where we are today goes all the way back to like 1905 is when they first started talking about having a mounted unit here in Lexington. And then 1907 it came about, started, and it was basically then because officers couldn't respond to things in outlying areas quickly, whether it would be livestock thieves or whatever. And then it was disbanded in 1909. 1973, they thought about bringing it back, but 1982 is where you're at today all started, correct?
Right.
Okay. And you, how many officers do you have in the unit?
Now we have 3 officers and myself as the sergeant, so 4 total.
And what kind of training goes into becoming a mounted officer here with Lexington?
So there's no requirement of any prior horse experience at all. We've had a few that had no experience whatsoever, and we've had several that do have prior experience. Some of them have either horses of their own at home or they've just grown up around horses and whatnot. But the general requirement is once the officer gets to the unit, the setup is there's a 10-week training program, and it's kind of can also be adjusted a little bit based on their experience and their level of riding. But they go through that course, and once they can prove that they're ready and then test out, and we do have a skilled out portion where we'll bring in guest instructors as well, but then as long as they can prove themselves and test out on the horseback riding portion of it, then they're qualified on our end to just show that they're safe and that they have the proper skill set. But they also have to train in driving the trailers, the trucks too, because the horses, we don't just ride out from here, we can take them anywhere in the city. So we involve the trailering as well, and there's a lot of other components into it, but generally speaking, it's about a 10-week course, but again, that's based on their experience level coming in.
So what does the mounted, like what are your daily routines, or sometimes we used to see them out like at parades and stuff like that. What other events do you all attend?
So a lot of people out there don't know that we are a full-time unit. This is our full-time spot. So this is where we come to work every day, and this is a 365-day-a-year job. The horses are not going to take care of themselves. Somebody has to be here every day to take care of them. So depending on the day of the week, we could be turning the horses out first thing in the morning. They go out to graze in the fields, and then we're responsible for cleaning their stalls that they've been in overnight, making sure they have all the food, medications, and supplements and all that they have at the end of the day. And then it kind of just depends on what our schedule looks like. We can either ride out here on patrol, and that would mean the officers just saddle up and ride the neighboring areas close to here, or they can put the horses in the trailers and go anywhere else in the city. And we like to try to get as many different places as we can. And when we're not doing that, we do get requested a lot for a lot of the public relations types events. So it is a lot of the parades, a lot of the like city parks events, a lot of school events. Like the elementary kids love us, so we do that a lot. And then we also get a lot of requests for tours of our facility here, and then we'll usually try to throw a demonstration in our training arena so they can kind of see our facilities and we can show them some of our skill set and whatnot.
So you mentioned the facilities here, and 1986, I think, is when this facility, which is very near to downtown Lexington, was built. Up until that point, from the time, I guess, this current era started in 82, were you at the
Correct.
horse?
We were out at Kentucky Horse Park. They let us keep our horses out there. So the 1 or 2 officers at the time would just go out there and get the horse and then kind of do things from there. But once we got our facility here, it just streamlined things so much for us and made it so much easier to where we can patrol downtown areas from here, and then we can also trailer out and go anywhere we need to go.
So with it being fall, we have a lot of horse events. You have Keeneling, you have the Colloquium. Do you all do anything out there at the horse park with the Colloquium with our horses?
Yes, so that's actually, we partner with them to host that event. And that one, this year, we brought in 136 riders from, I believe it was 41 different agencies across the country. So we had mounted police officers from as far away as Canada, the Toronto guys. We had a couple from California, some from Florida. So they come from all over to this training. We bring in outside instructors. We brought in a couple instructors from Toronto and a couple other places. So it's 2 days worth of training and then 2 days worth of competition for the officer side of it. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we have 2 days worth of civilian clinics. So pretty much anybody that's mostly local, that they typically are people that just own their own horses and are looking for extra training opportunities, that we bring them in. It's a different group on Saturday and Sunday, and we use those same instructors that we had all week for the police officers for those civilians as well. So they get to be exposed to a lot of things that they wouldn't normally be able to access without us having that training. So, and then it's also sponsored by our Friends of the Lexington Mounted Police. That's our nonprofit organization that they start off with the seed money for that, and then it's a really great fundraiser for us, and it's just great training for everybody else as well. We have a lot of officers that return year after year because they just constantly talk about the level of training is unmatched, and the facilities out there at Alltech Arena are awesome as well.
That's fantastic, and you would expect that in Kentucky,
Right.
right? So what about, and some other things you got to think about, it's not just you all. We have to think about veterinarians and care and so forth, so how do we do that?
So that's mostly falls on my responsibilities. Is I'm essentially managing a small farm out here. I never would have known it until I came out here, and most people don't realize that we have almost 10 acres on the property here. But the facilities out here, we do all of the upkeep, a lot of the upkeep ourselves as far as just the mowing and the general stuff like that. But then the veterinarian stuff, that falls on me anytime we have an issue pop up, which is fairly regularly. If you have kids, you know, stuff just pops up and you can't really plan for that kind of stuff. But then also their feet. We do have a farrier that comes out every 6 weeks to redo their shoes. We have to keep the hay stocked. We buy that every 6 months.
He's wanting you to go riding.
Yeah, he's ready to go.
That's
He's ready to work. We buy about 500 bales of hay every 6 months and stock it in the hay barn. That gets us through the year. And then we use hallway feeds for our feed. So it's a lot of the administrative side of it that most people just don't really realize until you've had the horses yourself.
Well, while we're here, we're going to talk to a couple of the mounted officers and also with your farrier? Is that right? Hostler. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you, Sergeant Creekmore, for joining us today.
Appreciate it. And thanks for Remington and Aiden for joining us in the shot as well.
So we are here with Miss Ellie West. She is the hostler for the Lexington Mounted Unit. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, of course.
So Ellie, what is a hostler?
It's pretty simple. I'm basically a horse and barn caretaker. So bringing the horses in, feeding, turning out, making sure that they're healthy and happy, and assisting the officers.
So you're like a horse whisperer.
Exactly.
So what does your daily routine consist of?
I come in at 6 every morning and feed the horses their grain, make sure that they're doing well from the night in the stalls, and then turn them out. And they're out for most of the day until the officers need them for patrol. And then clean their stalls and make sure they're good for the day, then bring them in at the end of the day and call it a night.
So we sometimes we don't think about all the care that goes into, because these are animals, right? We can't just leave them. So it's a year-round job.
Right.
Somebody has to be here every day.
Yep, and no days off. That's why we've got me to help the officers out on the weekends and everything. So we do take days off, but
But somebody has to be here, right?
somebody's got to be here every day. Yep.
Well, we appreciate you joining us today, and we appreciate what you do for the Lexington Police Department as well.
I'm happy to be here. It's a privilege.
Hey, and we are here at the Lexington Police Department Mounted Barn, and we are here with Officer Allison Winters and Jonathan Coyle. Thank you all for joining us today.
Of course.
So can you all tell us a little bit about how, because I remember both of you on patrol, how did you all get in the mounted unit?
Yeah, so there is an application process. After 3 years, patrol officers are eligible to put in for the unit if there is an opening. Once that opening is available, there is an interview process, and whoever is selected from the interview gets to come to the unit, and there is a training process that takes place once they come to the unit to make sure they're able to ride and proficient in their skills.
So how long have you been in the unit?
4 months.
4 months, all right. And what about you?
4 years.
4 years and 4 months, okay. So tell us a little bit about how is it different being a mounted officer from being, both of you are in patrol, how is it different from being a patrol officer?
So being in a mounted unit for me is it helps bring me closer to the community in just a more pleasant way. Instead of seeing somebody on their worst day, we get to see everybody on their best day and sometimes on their worst day and help make their day better if we can. I've had just tons of people that are scared of horses and sometimes scared of police officers even come up and come a lot closer to us and finally end up petting the horse and being able to bridge a gap that I've noticed before. Being able to go to schools is a pretty cool deal, having kids, getting to see horses and getting to see police officers. We also have barn cats that when we do tours around here, Smokey and Bandit are their name, and people half the time love the cats just as much as they love the horses.
Barn cats, and I've noticed them running around here.
Oh, yes.
They seem to be popular.
This is their house. They love it.
So are you all assigned the horses?
Yes, so I'm assigned to Bishop and Aiden. They're currently our two oldest horses as well. They both came from Asbury, and she is assigned to Houston, who also came from Asbury. All three of them are Percher on thoroughbred crosses, and we have 2 Clydesdales as well that are currently unassigned, but we take turns riding them to keep them up.
Now I know beat partners and the officers you work with every single day have different personalities, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do the horses have different personalities?
Definitely.
We call them horsenalities.
Okay, I like it.
A little different than personalities.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes, yeah, he's a goober. He's tired right now, but he's very, I would say personable. He's very horsenable. He loves his treats and he loves people a whole lot, and he gets real lippy and plays with people a whole lot, where some of the other horses are a little more just like a statue, kind of. Some of them are very sleepy.
All right, well, we appreciate you talking with us this morning. So now we want to see what you got, right? We're going to go over to the training barn, and we're going to see some of the skills and see some of the things that you can do on a horse. How's that sound?
Let's go.
All right, so episode 12, the last episode of season 1 of Your LexPD. We were here at the horse barn. Sonny, my new friend here, we had a great episode.
We did.
So what is next?
So starting off season 2, next month we are going to be talking to what we call the NROs, which are the Neighborhood Resource Officers.
Which serve as kind of a liaison between patrol and the neighborhoods dealing with particular issues. So it should be interesting. Plus the holidays are coming up,
Yes, they are.
and we'll do some safety tips with that as well.
So join us next month for another episode of Your LexPD.